The lights inside Allegiant Stadium didn't just dim that night, they collapsed into silence. Not the kind of silence you hear, but the kind you feel crawling under your skin, the kind that makes 60,000 people stop breathing at the exact same time. And then, out of nowhere, a heartbeat. Slow. Heavy. Echoing through the speakers like something alive. No announcement. No warning. Just tension stretching tighter and tighter until it felt like it might snap, and then he walked out, not rushed. Not hyped. Just calm. Controlled. Like he already knew what was about to happen, Bruno Mars didn't open the show like a performer. He opened it like a man about to tell a story no one was ready to hear. The spotlight hit, the band locked in, and without hesitation, the first notes of Risk It All cut through the dark. It wasn't loud, it was deliberate. Every lyric felt like a warning. Like he was telling the audience, if you're here tonight, you're going all the way with me, and just like that, there was no turning back. The transition into cha-cha-cha flipped the entire stadium on its head. The crowd that had been frozen seconds before suddenly erupted, bodies moving, lights flashing, energy exploding in waves that rolled from the floor all the way to the highest seats. But even in the chaos, Bruno wasn't just performing, he was controlling. Every step, every pause, every glance into the crowd felt intentional, like he was guiding 60,000 people through something bigger than just music. By the time On My Soul began, something had shifted. The energy dropped, not in excitement, but in weight. You could feel it. Phones slowly lowered. Voices softened. It was no longer about screaming lyrics, it was about listening. About absorbing. And Bruno, he leaned into that moment. His voice didn't push. It pulled. And for the first time that night, you could hear the emotion crack through. Then came the switch.no buildup. No warning, 24K magic. The explosion was instant. Fire. Lights. Movement. The entire stadium detonated into pure adrenaline. It was the kind of moment people don't record, they live. Strangers grabbing each other, jumping, shouting every word like their lives depended on it. And Bruno? He smiled. Not a big, flashy smile. A knowing one. Like, yeah, this is what you came for, but he wasn't done surprising anyone. Treasure came in smooth, effortless, almost playful. The kind of performance that reminds you why he's different. Why no matter how big the stage is, it still feels personal. Still feels close. He danced like he wasn't in front of thousands, but like he was in a room with you. And somehow, it worked. Then came one of the most unexpected turns of the night. God was showing off. You could feel the curiosity ripple through the crowd. Some people recognized it instantly. Others didn't. But that didn't matter. Because Bruno didn't perform it like a song, he performed it like a confession. The lights softened. The band held back. And for a moment, the stadium didn't feel like a stadium anymore. It felt small. Intimate. Almost fragile, and just when the audience started settling into that vulnerability, I just might. The groove came back. Slow at first. Then deeper. Then impossible to ignore. Head started nodding. Bodies swaying. It wasn't explosive, it was hypnotic. And Bruno? He leaned into that rhythm like it was second nature, pulling the crowd back into motion without ever forcing it. Perm hit like a slap of pure funk. Bright lights. Sharp moves. The band fully unleashed. This was Bruno at his most unapologetic, loud, bold, impossible to look away from. The crowd didn't just react, they matched him. Every clap, every shout, every beat landed perfectly, like the entire stadium had rehearsed for this moment. And then, why you wanna fight? The question hung in the air longer than the music itself. The energy dipped again, but this time it wasn't soft, it was tense. You could feel something building underneath. Something unresolved. I wanna be your man broke that tension like a confession finally spoken out loud. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't dramatic. It was honest. And that honesty hit harder than any explosion of lights or sound. Then came a moment that defined the entire night. That's what I like. But it wasn't just the song, it was the delivery. Bruno didn't rush it. He played with it. Teasing the crowd. Slowing it down. Speeding it up. Letting them sing. Cutting them off. Bringing them back. It wasn't just performance, it was interaction at its highest level. And the audience loved every second of it. Something serious carried that emotional thread forward, deeper this time. You could feel the shift from fun to something more real. More grounded, and then, silence, blast off, interlude. A transition. A breath. A reset. When Silk Sonic intro hit, the vibe changed completely. Smooth. Effortless. Cool in a way that can't be faked. And as 777 rolled in, the crowd locked into that groove like it had been waiting all night for it. Fly As Me elevated it even further. Confidence. Swagger. Precision. Every move calculated, every note controlled. It wasn't just music, it was mastery. Smoking Out the Window brought the humor back, but with an edge. The crowd laughed, sang, reacted, but there was still something underneath. A hint of something real, and then, everything slowed. Leave the door open. This was the moment. The one where time stopped. Where voices softened. Where couples leaned closer. Where the noise of the world outside disappeared completely. Bruno didn't need to push, he let the song breathe. Let it exist exactly as it was meant to. Marry You felt like a natural continuation, but lighter. Warmer. Hopeful. Die With a Smile added a layer of reflection. A quiet intensity that lingered. It Will Rain brought the weight back. The emotion. The vulnerability. You could hear it in every note, and then, almost like a whisper, talking to the moon. No distractions. No spectacle. Just voice. Just feeling. And for a moment, 60,000 people felt like one. When I Was Your Man didn't just hit, it hurt. You could hear it in the crowd. The way people sang it wasn't loud, it was personal. Versace on the Floor, interlude, acted as a bridge, pulling everyone gently out of that emotional depth, and then, the final climb. Locked Out of Heaven. Energy returned like a tidal wave. The crowd jumped, screamed, lived in that moment. Just the Way You Are followed, softer but just as powerful. A reminder. A connection, and then the ending everyone was waiting for, Uptown Funk. It wasn't just a performance, it was a celebration. Lights, movement, sound, everything coming together in one final explosion of energy that felt unstoppable, and just when it felt like it was over, Dance With Me. A final invitation. A final moment. A final connection between artist and audience that didn't feel like goodbye, it felt like something unfinished, and maybe that was the point, because what happened inside Allegiant Stadium over those 2 nights wasn't just a concert. It wasn't just a set list. It was a journey, one that started with risk, moved through chaos, dipped into vulnerability, and ended in something that felt almost impossible to describe. And the truth is, if you weren't there, you didn't just miss a show, you missed a moment that people will be talking about long after the lights came back on, and even after the final note faded. Something strange happened. No one wanted to leave. The lights slowly came up inside Allegiant Stadium, but the energy didn't disappear. It lingered, like the echo of something too powerful to end cleanly. People stood there, looking at the stage, as if waiting for Bruno Mars to walk back out one more time, to say something, to explain what they had just experienced, but he didn't, and that silence said everything, because what made those 2 nights different wasn't just the music, or the flawless transitions, or even the perfectly crafted set list. It was the feeling that none of it was accidental. Every pause, every shift in tone, every unexpected emotional drop felt designed to pull the audience deeper, to make them part of something bigger than just a performance. As people finally began to move toward the exits, you could hear it in their voices. No one was talking about just one song. They were talking about moments. About how Talking to the Moon felt like it was sung directly to them. About how Uptown Funk turned strangers into a single, unstoppable wave of energy. About how the entire night felt like a story they didn't realize they were inside of until it was already over. And maybe that's the real reason no one skipped a second, because it wasn't just a concert you watched. It was one you felt, long after you walked away.